Ever wondered how one man could shatter an empire? Welcome to Class Bites. Today, we dive into the audacious rise of Julius Caesar and how his military genius reshaped Rome forever. In an age of profound political instability, when the norms of the Roman Republic were fracturing under the weight of ambitious generals, one figure emerged who would not merely bend the rules, but break them entirely. Gaius Julius Caesar rose in a world where men like his uncle, Gaius Marius, and his rival Sulla had already set the precedent of using loyal armies to seize control of the state. He would take this precedent and forge from it an entirely new reality, systematically dismantling the old order through a masterful combination of military genius and political audacity. His success on the battlefield was not born of revolutionary weaponry, but of an unparalleled command of strategy, engineering, and discipline. The core tenet of his military doctrine was celeritas, or speed. He moved his legions with a relentless pace, often marching them immediately after a long journey or through severe weather to strike opponents when they were least prepared. His legions were as much a construction force as a fighting one, capable of reshaping the landscape to their commander's will. In a breathtaking display of Roman power, his men constructed a wooden pile bridge nearly 1,000 feet long across the Rhine River in just 10 days. This was not merely an engineering feat, it was a psychological weapon, a clear message that no natural border could contain Rome's reach. The invasions of Britain served a similar purpose, designed less for conquest and more to intimidate distant tribes and burnish his political image back home. Nowhere was his strategic mind more evident than at the Siege of Alesia. Trapping an army of 80,000 Gauls within their fortress, Caesar ordered the construction of an inner wall, an 11-mile-long line of fortifications complete with 23 towers. But as a massive Gallic relief army approached, he did something unprecedented. He built a second outer wall, this one nearly 13 miles in circumference, to defend his own besieging army. His forces were now caught between two enemy hosts, protected only by an elaborate network of trenches, anti-cavalry moats, camouflaged pits lined with sharpened stakes, and logs embedded with iron spikes. It was a masterpiece of siege warfare that secured the conquest of Gaul, a vast territory that would provide Rome with immense tax revenue, resources, and manpower for centuries to come. While ancient chroniclers claimed over 1 million Gauls perished in the campaigns, modern historians believe these figures were inflated for propaganda, with the true losses likely closer to 1/10 of the population. While his legions were securing new frontiers, Caesar was waging a different kind of war in Rome itself. He understood that military might was useless without political power. Early in his career, he formed an informal but potent alliance with the wealthy Marcus Licinius Crassus and the celebrated general Pompey the Great. This First Triumvirate allowed the three men to dominate Roman politics, often against the will of the Senate. Caesar viewed the Senate as an obstructive body and frequently bypassed it, taking legislation directly to the popular assemblies. When his co-consul attempted to veto a land reform bill, a riot ensued, and the symbols of his authority were broken, a clear sign of the people's support for Caesar's agenda. He consolidated his authority through the office of dictator, a position traditionally held for a 6-month emergency term. Caesar, however, had it granted to him multiple times, culminating in the title Dictator Perpetuo, Dictator for Life. This final step shattered Republican tradition and was a key factor in his downfall. He used his power to enact sweeping reforms. He expanded the Senate from a depleted 600 members to 900, packing it with his own supporters, including elites from Italian towns and even nobles from newly conquered Gaul, thereby diluting the power of the old aristocratic families. He conducted a census and reduced the number of citizens receiving the free grain dole from over 300,000 to 150,000, placing the distribution on a more formal footing. He settled his loyal veterans in new colonies across the empire, from Corinth to Spain, a move that both Romanized new territories and secured the allegiance of his former soldiers. Perhaps his most enduring legacy was the Julian calendar. Using his authority as Pontifex Maximus, or chief priest, and advised by the astronomer Sosigenes, he replaced the inaccurate Roman calendar with a solar model of 365¼ days. To realign the seasons, 1 year was extended to a remarkable 445 days, and this new system became the basis for the calendar we use today. The inevitable confrontation with his rivals came when the Senate, now aligned with Pompey, ordered him to disband his army. By crossing the Rubicon River, the legal boundary of Italy, with his legions, he committed an irrevocable act of insurrection and plunged the Republic into civil war. This was the point of no return. His ultimate triumph, however, bred the conspiracy that would end his story.
A group of about 60 senators, led by Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, saw his permanent dictatorship as a mortal threat to the Republic. Justifying their actions as the removal of a tyrant, they confronted him at a meeting at the Senate. They chose to use military daggers, a deliberate symbol to frame the act as an honorable execution rather than a common crime. In the intense encounter that followed, he received 23 wounds. The conspirators' hope of restoring the old republic perished with him. Instead, his absence created a power vacuum that led to another 14 years of civil war. He was the first Roman figure to be officially deified by the state, setting a precedent for the imperial cult that would become central to the emperor's authority.
Though he never held the title of emperor, he had created the template for autocracy that his adopted son, Octavian, would use to formally establish the Roman Empire. His family name evolved into a title for supreme rulers, Kaiser and Tsar, and his conquest of Gaul forever shifted Rome's focus, shaping the language, culture, and law of modern Europe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts or what you'd like to see next in the comments.